Hi, welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making today is a delicious batch of raisin squares. So these raisin squares are so easy to make and they're a viewer's request. So thank you for sending in that. I'm going to show you how to make them. It's got a delicious filling and the batter is so simple. So if that interests you, stick around and let's get started. So what we'll do first is start with making the raisin filling. I got 2 cups of raisins here, and you can use raisins of choice, whatever you got available. 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar, 1/2 cup of cold water. And all of these ingredients for your raisin filling is going to go in on in a little saucepan on a medium heat. And this is 1/2 tablespoonful of butter or margarine. We got about 1/4 of a teaspoonful of lemon juice and some of its zest. So I'm going to toss it all in there together. I also am going to be putting in there 2 tablespoonfuls of flour, and this is all-purpose flour, but you could use whatever flour you got available. Now we're going to mix this all in together, and we're going to get this starting to boil on a medium heat until it starts to thicken. I'll show you what that looks like. You can see that the raisins are starting to get boiling there and getting a little caramelized. You just mix it around and just until you can see those raisins starting to expand a little and the sauce for the filling is getting thicker. So when that's done, remove it from the heat and let it go to room temperature. Now we're going to get to the batter, and I'm going to put this in a glass bowl. Pour all of that delicious filling into a bowl, and my bowl is a little cold there because I want for it to bring this to room temperature, and you can also put it in your fridge if you're waiting for it to go to that room temperature. And what we're going to do now is make our batter. So what we're going to do now is add in 1/2 cup of, I'm going to say, melted butter or room temperature butter. My butter is always cold, and I toss it in the microwave for about 10 seconds to just melt a little, and I always melt it too much, but that's okay because it all works. So you're just going to mix that together with 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm using white sugar, but you could use whatever type of sugar you like, and just mix that through like this. We're going to add in a teaspoonful of vanilla extract or the real vanilla, whichever one you got available, and just mix that through. We're going to be using 1 large egg. I'm just going to break it in a bowl first, mix it together, and we're going to add in 1/4 of a cup of milk. So I'm kind of going to mix these two together. Just add it on into your mixture. We're also going to add in 1/4 cup of water. And we're just going to mix this in lightly, and then we're going to start sifting in our flour and baking powder. 1.5 cups of all-purpose. I'm using white flour. You could use flour of choice, and 2 teaspoonfuls of baking powder. And we're going to just sift this on into our mixture. So that's all you need to do there. And all we got to do now is fold this batter and the wet ingredients in with the dry ingredients to make a delicious silky batter. You can also use your mixer for this if you wanted to, or just a spoon. So that's all we need to do there. Now I'm going to reach for my baking pan. So what I got here is a 9 by 13 inch pan and a piece of parchment paper put in there. I wet it first just on a little scrunch up of it and then put it down into the pan. Just keeps it in place. That's a little tip that I got from one of our viewers, and thank you for that. And what we're going to do now is just scoop this batter in here. Everything to make things easier. Hey, Raymond?
Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah, it's just one of these things now that...
Easy breezy.
Yeah. So we're just going to scoop all of that in there. I'm just going to take it off the spoon there now and get everything from the pan, and I'll show you the next step.
Yeah.
So now what you're going to do is spread the batter all the ways out into this pan, and it's a 9 by 13. It's going to look thin, but of course it's going to rise as well when it gets in that oven to make them delicious squares. So I'm just going to continue spreading it out, and I'll show you that. After you've spread it out even like this, this is what it's going to look like. And now I'm going to tell you the baking time. So now what we're going to do is preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to put the timer on for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depending on your oven, or until golden brown and done. So I'll show you that when I take it out, what it looks like. Our raisin squares are baked. I got my kettle on to make a pot of tea because these are so delicious, whether you're expecting company or if you're just making it for you and your family. So now I'm going to show you what this looks like with it baked, and then I'm going to let it cool for a few minutes. So this is what it looks like when it's coming out of the oven, and of course the bottom is a golden brown. We're going to take, this is the purpose of having the parchment paper. We can just pull it out like this. I'm going to put it out onto this rack and let it cool for just a little bit longer. And then I'm going to show you how to assemble this. Okay, so now I'm just going to transfer delicious cake onto my board, and I'm just going to cut the sides a little just to even out, to make sure it's all nice and you can see the cake batter, and take off any dark spots. And I'll do that on all the sides. So just take these little extra pieces of cake and put it over to the side. That's good for nibbling on yourself. Of course, we know that Raymond is going to enjoy that now in a little tiny bit. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just half this, cut this in half. So pretty much you could measure it to find out where the half is, but I'm just going to eyeball it here now for me and just take it like this, because one goes on top of the other. We're just going to put the filling on one side and then flip it over and put the other part of the cake up there. So let's do that now. So after you've cut it in half, just make sure you got this other piece of cake loose from the parchment paper with your knife. So I'm going to put my knife to the side, and then I'm going to start scooping up the filling and putting over just one piece of this delicious cake.
Can I have a little bit of that nibbly stuff? And I don't know, what about a little dab of that dabadooey stuff?
We'll give you a little dab of that after. We're going to continue with this here now, Mr. H. Okay, so now we're going to continue putting this delicious filling over the top of this, because you know now, if we'll leave Raymond alone, he's going to be nibbling on this and we're not going to have anything to show. So now just spread it out there. You're going to get your share. I got the kettle boiling there with a pot of tea going for us.
Nice.
So just put that filling on there like that. That's all you need to do. After you got the filling there, you're gonna release the other portion of your cake from this. I'm gonna actually move the knife. I just want to make sure that it was loose. And take it and put over the top of the filling. So I'm gonna turn it here so you can see it a little bit. So now once it's completely cold, if you had it completely cold or to room temperature, then cut it. But that's what it's going to look like. How delicious is that? So now I'm going to start cutting this into squares, but of course I need to pour myself up a cup of tea because now I'm just thinking about how delicious this is going to be. So you can cut these any size that you want. You could have it the same size I got here on this display tray, or you could have it larger or even smaller, of course. But basically a nice sharp knife and just pull over like this and cut it all the ways along. So just put your knife at the front and just bring it down, and if it's a nice sharp knife you can just put it all the ways through like that. And of course make sure it's cold. Mine is not totally cold here now because I want to show you this and I don't want to have to wait until it's totally cold. And of course waiting is not our finest suit.
Go on, you're joking.
Especially Raymond. I mean, he's the worst to wait for something to cool down. You know now, he's just waiting for a fresh one of these. Those other ones I made yesterday, so we'll be gifting those for sure. And that's it. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at these delicious raisin squares and they're so tasty. This raisin filling is delightful. So delicious. So this is it, as good as it gets. I'm so glad that we were able to bring these delicious raisin squares to you today. And thank you to the viewer for suggesting to make them. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And of course I got to pour another little taste of tea. And then I'm going to have a sample of our raisin squares. I can't wait for you to make them. The cake is soft and tender, of course. The raisins inside has got that delicious caramel taste to it. I remember talking with my mouth full.
Well, probably what I'll do is, because you don't like to talk when your mouth is full, I'll just take one of those cookies.
Raymond is looking to take one of those cookies. I'll just pass him one.
Oh.
And then he can have a little sample on the back there.
There
you go.
Too
Enjoy,
good.
Raymond.
Yep.
So this is it. 2 thumbs up. I'm excited for you to make them. So we're going to provide the recipe today in under our video here and also on our website www.bonitaskitchen.com, and you can print it there. Also you can visit us on our Facebook page and you can also get the recipe there and see lots of our recipes from previous tapings. So I'm going to not take any more of your time, of course. I know it's precious and we thank you for sharing a little bit of it with us here today. So again, send us a message if you'd like to see any of our recipes and you can't find them. But for now, thank you for joining us. On behalf of myself, Raymond, and our team, you have a wonderful day. From our kitchen to yours. To join us again on Bonita's Kitchen.
A journey in culinary, always an open door. Bonita's Kitchen to yours. Bonita's Kitchen, to yours.